Yeah, it's Kelvin. This is gonna be my favorite death metal albums of 2023. This year there was just a bunch of death metal albums that came out. I made a big list, and then I put it on a playlist on Spotify. So definitely check out that playlist for like the full like list of albums that I really liked. So I narrowed it down to 20 albums plus a few like honorable mentions. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with those honorable mentions. The first one, Go Ahead and Die, Unhealthy Mechanisms. This is Max Cavalera's death metal band with his son Igor Amadeus Cavalera.
I forgot to mention that I have the Go Ahead and Die album playing in the background.
And yeah, this is just like straight death metal with Max Cavalera. You know me, anything Max Cavalera puts out, I'm definitely gonna check out and support. I'm really looking forward to seeing them live next month when they tour with Body Box. So yeah, I'm gonna be checking out the Albuquerque show. But yeah, here's the vinyl. It's like a red with black splatter. But yeah, that's Go Ahead and Die. And then my next one for an honorable mention is Creeping Death, Boundless Domain. So Creeping Death, they're Texas death metal with like thrash and like hardcore influences. And I guess them being from Texas, you can definitely hear some Power Trip influence. This is their second album. I spoke with their guitarist Trey Pemberton on a podcast interview earlier this year, so yeah, definitely check that out. They've been touring nonstop, so you know I didn't get a chance to see them this year, but I've seen them plenty of times. I got the green like smoke vinyl here, but yeah, definitely check out Creeping Death, Boundless Domain. And then these next few albums are from veteran death metal bands. I think the last time they all put out albums was like 2017. Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, Dying Fetus, Incantation. They all put out albums, and yeah, this year it was cool to see them all put out albums again. So my next honorable mention is Dying Fetus, Make Them Beg for Death. This is just straightforward, like Dying Fetus' style of death metal, which is, slamming death metal. I know they toured this year, but I didn't get a chance to see them. If you've heard Dying Fetus, you know what you're going to expect with this album. And then I got the blue vinyl here. And then next, Cannibal Corpse, Chaos Horrific. This is the second album with Eric Rutan on lead guitar, and so it's cool that they're letting him like incorporate his songwriting, and I guess he's most well known for like Hate Eternal. So there hasn't been a Hate Eternal album in a while, so this album definitely has some moments with Hate Eternal and Eric Rutan's style of writing. And I got the Charred Flesh vinyl here. Looking forward to seeing him this coming spring with Amon Amarth and Frozen Soul. Next, Incantation, Unholy Deification. This is just like classic Incantation, that slow death doom metal. I spoke with John McEntee, the lead singer guitarist of Incantation, so I'm definitely a big fan and supporter of Incantation. Whatever they put out, I'm definitely going to check out. And then here's the vinyl if you're watching. And then Suffocation, Hymns of the Apocrypha. I love Suffocation. Suffocation was one of my first, actually it was the first death metal show I went to back in 2005 when they toured with Behemoth and Cattle Decapitation. So Suffocation has a special place in my heart. This is the first album without Frank Mullen. Their new vocalist is Ricky Myers. So the vocals sound a little different, but the music still sounds like Suffocation. And their main songwriter, Terrence Hobbs, is still in the band, and so still sounds like Suffocation with just a slightly different vocalist. And then I got the Splatter vinyl here. So those are my honorable mentions, albums I really liked. Definitely check them out. So I'm going to start with my top 20. First with Obituary, Dying of Everything. I love Obituary. You know, they have their own unique brand of death metal, that slow, mid-pace groove style of death metal. So yeah, this album, there's no different from their previous albums. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them with Amon Amarth and Cannibal Corpse this coming spring. I got the blue vinyl with the orange and black splatter, and I really dig the artwork here. I got the wall flag behind me, so yeah, definitely one of my top 20s. Obituary, Dying of Everything. And then my next one, Outer Heaven, Infinite Psychic Depths. So they're like a newer death metal band. This is their second album. Yeah, I think they came out in 2018 with their album. I forget the name of the title, but yeah. So this kind of just picks up where they left off, and they got that slow, like, groove, similar to like Morbid Angel. Yeah, and I know this album has a lot of guest appearances. I think there's like Steve Tucker from Morbid Angel is on this album. I know the lead singer of Undeath is on this album. So yeah, it's just a really fun album. Definitely check it out. I really dig the artwork as well. So here's the full artwork. I got the poster in the back. So if you put this album on top of their first album, it makes one big like collage, which is pretty sick. And if you're watching, here's what the vinyl looks like. So that's Outer Heaven, Infinite Psychic Depths. And then my next favorite, Frozen Soul, Glacial Domination. So Frozen Soul are a Texas death metal band. This is their second album. I would say the biggest difference between this album and Crypt of Ice, their first album, is just the production. They have a really like clean, like slick production on this album, and it was produced by Matt Heafy of Trivium. So yeah, that, you know, kind of explains the clean production. Yeah, this is similar to like Obituary with their style. It's like, you know, mid-paced, groovy. I would say they also have a lot in common with Amon Amarth, and they're going to be touring with Amon Amarth this spring, which, you know, makes a lot of sense because, you know, they take a lot of influence from Amon Amarth. So yeah, check out Frozen Soul, Glacial Domination. And I got like the smoke vinyl, so. All right, my next album, favorite album of 2023, Sanguisugabogg, Homicidal Ecstasy, is their second album from Sanguisugabogg, their Ohio death metal. I would say sounding like the slamming type of death metal. I saw them in Gallup, which is, you know, why I got their autographs, which is pretty sick. Yeah, this is just a fun album. I really dig this album. It's just like groovy slamming with the slamming like trash tin can drum tone, like Lars Ulrich's Saint Anger like drum tone. Yeah, this is just a fun album. I really dig it, and it was really cool to see him in Gallup. You know, it just shows that they're cool to, you know, play for like the native metalheads here. And here's the vinyl. So yeah, definitely check out Homicidal Ecstasy of from Sanguisugabogg. Really fun album. All right, my next favorite death metal album, Sentenced to Die. This is their first album on Maggot Stomp Records, and so they're a Minneapolis, Minnesota death metal band. If you dig 200 Stab Wounds, they have that same sound, like that death metal with like the hardcore slamming, like groovy style. Yeah, I really dig this. Definitely check it out if you're a fan of 200 Stab Wounds. And then here's the CD. Alright, my next favorite album are Thorn, Evergloom. This is Thorn's, I think their third full length. So if you're not familiar with Thorn, they're a Phoenix, Arizona, like one-man death metal band. It's definitely has like some, you know, like atmospheric, like death doom, I would say. So the album cover is like a cave, like a cavern, which definitely is a good depiction of their style and their sound. Yeah, I believe this is like their fourth consecutive release since 2020. Like they're just coming out with like I guess the guy behind the project, I believe his name is like Brennan Westmeyer. Yeah, he's just like pumping out material every year. So I'm sure there's gonna be a Thorn album in 2024. So be on the lookout for that. And then my next favorite album is Nuclear Remains, Dawn of Eternal Suffering. So this is another band from Phoenix, Arizona. This is their first full album. They put out a like an EP last year. So I've been following Nuclear Remains for a while. Definitely a fan of theirs. Especially because they're from Phoenix. You know, I always want to support like the Phoenix bands, the bands from Arizona. And so, yeah, this album, I don't know, it sounds like they just like combined all like these like Relapse Records like bands and like into one album, like bands like Suffocation, Dying Fetus, Skinless, like I don't know, I just get a really like early 2000s Relapse Records vibe from this album. And then I got the yellow vinyl here. So yeah, check out Nuclear Remains, Dawn of Eternal Suffering. And then my next favorite is Thraw. Let's see, Forged in Chaotic Spew. So yeah, this is Thraw's first full album. Again, another Arizona band from Phoenix. Yeah, so this is more like on the death doom sludge, style of death metal. I used to live in Phoenix, and I would see them like open for a lot of like the big death metal shows that would come through Phoenix. So it's cool to see them put out their material on an album. You got to check out this vinyl. This vinyl is amazing. It's like it's probably my favorite like vinyl of all these like death metal bands. Like it's just a beautiful looking vinyl. Yeah, definitely check out Thraw, Forged in Chaotic Spew. Sick album from here in Arizona. And my next favorite album here, Fuming Mouth, Last Day of Sun. Yeah, this is Fuming Mouth. I believe it's their second full-length album. Yeah, I've been like, reading into the band a lot and following them. Their lead vocalist, guitarist, his name's Mark Whalen. I guess was diagnosed with leukemia. Yeah, pretty crazy story. He like wrote the album and recorded the album like while he was getting his like treatments for leukemia. And yeah, you definitely hear a lot of emotion in this album and the singing. The songs are really catchy. Almost kind of like has like a cool like rock and roll like riffing style. Yeah, this is a really great album. I was really looking forward to it. I've been a fan of theirs for a while, so I was definitely anticipating this album. And then I got the brown smoke vinyl here. So my next favorite, I believe this is going to be the end of my first part of this list. I'm going to break them up into two. This is Horrendous, Ontological Mysterium. Yeah, Horrendous are progressive death metal band, and if you're a fan of like the later like death albums like Symbolic, Individual Thought Patterns, yeah, you'll definitely dig Horrendous. And I've been a fan of their albums since the Agdisis album, which came out 2014, so 9 years ago. And so this is probably the most like progressive album that they put out in terms of like musicianship. There's some clean singing on here, which is really cool. Yeah, when I first heard it, I was thinking like this is like a mix between of like Dream Theater and death. Yeah, I believe this was like the Decibel magazine like album of the year, which I feel like Decibel has kind of like preferential practices with like certain types of bands, because they actually chose like Horrendous as like I believe it was like their second album as like album of the year like in 2015. So but yeah, I mean, this is a good album, but I wouldn't declare it like my number one like album of the year. So yeah, that's the first part of my list. Those were like the first 10 like favorite. I'm gonna put out a part 2 with my top 10, so check that out.